All right, good evening. I've got a lot of volume on this. I'll try not to sit too close. Good evening. It is, what time is it now? About 6:04 p.m. on September 24th. We'll call the meeting to order. And as a reminder, if you'd like to speak before the commission tonight, please complete a blue speaker request form and give it to the clerk prior to the item. We'll begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. And do we have this in the right order? Do we do the pledge?
Roll call.
Or do roll call first?
Roll call first.
Sorry, I just started reading, reading ahead.
No problem. Commissioner Fitch?
Present.
Commissioner Varela? Here. Vice Chair Gracia?
Here.
Chair Dinko?
Here.
Commissioner Ward will be marked absent.
And Commissioner Gracia, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure. We begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our first item this evening is the monthly Community Enhancement and Safety Update provided by Community Enhancement and Safety Manager, Chair Fair.
Good evening, Commissioners. The report for the Community Enhancement and Safety is for July 23rd through today. We collected 774 signs of 3,584 for the entire year. Street vendors was way down. We had 2 concerns received. The street sweeping, we issued 1,560 citations. We had a total of 671 cases received. 652 of those have been responded to. Of those, the oldest that has not been responded to is from yesterday. And that's an improvement for us. We've been working on that. We've had some cases that have sat for weeks at a time before we could get to them. And now we're getting to them within 24 to 48 hours.
Looks like tonight, Chief Ike is not here tonight.
Correct.
All right, we'll just move on past the fire update for tonight. But tonight we do have Sergeant Gutierrez from Riverside County Sheriff's Department with an update.
Good evening, Commissioners and Chair. I have the month of August numbers. Total calls for service for the month of August, we had 2,298, which was a 16% increase from the previous month. Total traffic collisions, we had a total of 100 for the month of August, which was a 26% increase from the previous month. Out of those, we had 25 of those were involved injury. That was a increase of 13 from the previous month. 75 of those were non-injury, which was 11% increase. Total citations for the month of August, we wrote 552 citations, which was a 65% increase from the previous month. Out of those citations, we wrote 353 moving citations, which is a 66% increase. And we wrote 199 parking violations, which was a 63% increase from the previous month. We had, for vehicle burglaries in the month of August, we had a total of 17, which was a 19% decrease from the previous month. Noise calls, which we had a total of 70, which was a 6% decrease from the previous month. And mail thefts, we had reported a 4, which was a decrease of 1. For the month of July, the UCR stats, we had 0 homicides, 0 reported rapes, 0 robberies, 3 aggravated assaults, 10 burglaries, 51 larceny or thefts. Vehicle thefts, we had 13, 0 arsons, and we had a total of 4 calls related to street racing. And I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Was it your team that handled that robbery caper with the firearm taking the cell phones?
Yes,
it was our special enforcement team.
I just want to say good job with that one. You guys caught him pretty fast.
3 days.
Yeah.
All right, since we're on that one. So as I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there were 2 separate cell phone 211s on that?
Yeah, there was actually 3, a Monday, Tuesday, and a Wednesday.
Was the Wednesday one the one that resulted in the arrest? Was that involving shots fired in the neighborhood, or was that a
No,
different
that's a
case?
totally separate incident.
Okay, I was wondering if they're connected, but they're not connected.
That's related to a residential burg and a vehicle burg.
Okay. All right, not connected, but all in custody.
Yes.
Yes.
Nice. All right, excellent, thank you.
Chair and members of the commission, if I may, I have the statistics here for the county fire department, and I can read them into the record if you would like.
Sure, that would be great, thank you.
All right. So for August 2019, these are the total calls for Eastville for CAL FIRE. August 2019 was 296 total calls for the city. That is an increase from the same time last year in August 2018 of 257 calls. We also have, let's see. We also have response activity for CAL FIRE as well. Is that there were false alarms. The number were 21. Medical responses were 217. Other fire, 3. Other miscellaneous, 6. There was a public service assist of 5. Rescue fire, 1. Rescue in general, 1. Ringing alarm were 6 of those. Standby, 2. And traffic collisions, 33. Wildland fire, 1.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, still staying on,
Oh,
do you have
yeah,
more?
I do have a question just for Sergeant Gutierrez in regards to the statistics for the street racing. Do we know what areas those calls were?
I don't know exactly, I don't have those with me, but they're not really one specific area, they were different parts of the city.
Oh, okay, because I know there's been some concerns from the public regarding street racing.
We see
just
the
wondering.
tire marks, it's just in order to try to catch them.
Okay, thank you.
There was also a big increase in sites. Was that related? We got a new motor recently, right?
Yes, we did.
Was that in relation to that? Was the, as far as increase in sites, or did he
Well, the
come?
motor's been here since February, so it's, I think it's just a lot more traffic this summer being out and more people are out and about. But it's a target-rich environment.
Got it.
Yeah.
You know, Sergeant Gutierrez, you read off the stats for August, is that right?
Yes, I did.
I'm not sure what the timing is between when the stats come in. The only ones that I received were up through July. Is that a timing issue when we have to prepare these reports? Do you know?
Or is that the UCR stats or the,
I've got the crime stats. I have June and July, but I don't have August. I'm not sure if it's timing to get it into this.
Yeah, we don't provide the UCR stats for August yet because they're always a month behind. So we can process all our reports and if sometimes the call types change.
Yeah.
As we do our investigations. So the UCR stats,
Yeah.
the rape, robbery, homicides,
Right.
burglaries, they're always a month behind.
Okay.
Sergeant Gutierrez gives you the non-UCR stats for the
Oh, I
most
see.
current month.
So you just pull them yourself?
Yeah, we pull
outside
them
of these?
ourselves and then we get the UCR stats.
Okay.
And we add those. So you have one set of stats that are from August and the other will be the UCR stats, which are always the month prior.
Gotcha.
If that makes
Okay.
sense.
I gotcha. All right. Do we have any other questions? Thank you. So the next item we have on the agenda is item 3.4, Riverside Transit Authority presentation on proposed bus route.
And that presentation this evening will be given by William Hemsley.
Thank you, Gina. Chair and Commissioners, Joe with RTA was unable to make the presentation tonight, so I'll just go over it with you. And Gina and I would be happy to answer any questions that we can answer. So basically, RTA is looking at providing additional service, a new route in the city of Eastville. They've been looking at it for quite some time and are looking at making that happen in the next several months. There are 2 existing routes in the city right now. Route 3 from Eastville through Norco and Corona. And we'll show you the routes in a minute. There's on a map, Route 29, which is through Eastville, Yorupa Valley, and Riverside. So the new route will go through on the west side of Eastville and also go to Norco and Corona. And that'll be launching in May next year. So Route 4 will be designed to serve the western side of Eastville beyond what the existing Route 3 can effectively serve. It's going to be linked to Corona. And it connects with the existing routes 3 and 29 at the Lymanite and Hamner Avenues at the Goodman Center. And the service will operate weekdays with intervals every 15 minutes from 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And there will be 4 new stops on Lyman Avenue, an additional pair for the new merged development that's occurring. And then Archibald will have 7 new stop pairs, and 1 on each side of the street. So this shows you the new route. Comes up from the Corona Transit Center, up River Road, on to Archibald, and then up to Lymanite, and then up to the Goodman Center. They're currently working with Public Works on the bus stop locations, and they'll be presenting their civil drawings for us to review shortly. We've went on a tour with them and gave them our comments already, and sounds like they're making those adjustments that we requested of them. Basically, we'll be widening the sidewalks to allow for passengers to exit and have room to enter and wait for the bus, and they'll also have some room for future bus shelters if the ridership warrants that. There is current funding for Route 4 that's coming through SB1 that's now available. And that concludes the presentation. Any questions?
Do we currently have any routes that are coming from the metro station up to here as of right now?
In Riverside?
Right. No, right there in Corona. Or is there any routes that are coming from any of the Metrolink stations into the city directly?
I think the one from, are you familiar with that? Gina, I think there's one from the Riverside. Oh yeah, well here we go. Representation.
Route 3 goes from Metrolink all the way to Amazon and Route 29 from Riverside to close to Des Moines, but that comes out here to Metrolink with Route 3. But when Route 4 starts in May, then I'll have 2 buses going from the Metrolink. Now, if the service is approved really good, then they'll add weekend service and all that. Originally, it was supposed to start in January, but there were some issues with the city, so they had to delay it until May 2020. So, and Phil actually here tomorrow night, we have a presentation to the city council. So you'll hear tomorrow night.
So I think it's great we're getting more routes into the city. My concern with it though, and I was actually just asked about this from another agency that's relative to mine, is that people generally come in from the Metrolink from the LA area and like to ride buses and, you know, scatter throughout whichever cities they need to be. As far as any illegal ridership, as far as the, you know, people, are they enforcing any of the people on the buses that are not paying, that are just riding up here and just kind of placing themselves wherever they may be? Is that being enforced by either RTA or LA County Sheriffs, or who enforces the buses out here?
Right, not the city, but if I'm not mistaken, RTA has its own police, so to speak, their own persons that ride the bus.
Yeah, we have Allied security system, so this issue, Allied security will take drivers off, has them off the bus or whatever, and or call the police, then you know that much. I've been riding bus for 20 years.
No, it's a great system. It's a fantastic system.
Yeah, Allied security actually follows buses.
Right.
They monitor the bus stop and make sure that there's nobody loitering. And I see it loitering, I know fire say immediately, and they'll send Allied security to manage the bus stop.
Okay, because the problem that my personal experience with dealing with transit systems in our department, because we I don't personally, but we have a lot of deputies that actually work the transit systems, is people getting on buses from, from wherever they're at, specifically, out in the LA area, and coming out here and just riding buses to just because they're homeless, which obviously brings, a little bit of, crime or riffraff into the city, if you will. So I just want to make sure that we're monitoring that, or somebody's monitoring it for that matter, any of the routes that are coming in here. Because obviously we're going to have more routes coming in, which I think is great. And, but with that, there's going to be, there's going to be some cons to it as well. So if we can just, I don't know how we're going to monitor that, or if we have anything in place to kind of just monitor those buses coming in and make sure nobody's loitering, or that kind of riffraff coming into the city. That's all I got.
Do you have that taken care of? Are you on that one too?
Rob,
just a report next month would be great, really.
Rob, we'll share your concern with RTA. It's not it's not our agency, but we'll share it with them.
Yeah, that'd be great. Appreciate it.
Any other comment? No. Thank you very much. Brings us to the consent calendar, 4.1 through 4.6. All matters on the consent calendar are considered routine and are approved with one motion unless a commissioner, staff member, or a member of the public requests separate action on a specific item. Have we had any items that need to be pulled? Do we have a staff member that's pulled any items?
No, sir.
Member of the public?
No, sir.
Would any of the commissioners like to pull any of the items that are in the consent calendar? I see later in our agenda we have a couple of topics that are included within our minutes, including the always stop at Sumner and 68th and safe routes to school, the bridge. So with that in mind, that we have that later on in the conversation tonight, I don't see any other items that need to be pulled. So we'll need a motion to accept the remainder of the consent calendar.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Fitch?
Aye.
Commissioner Varela?
Aye.
Vice Chair Gracia?
Aye.
Chair Dinko?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
So for the commission business items, we have 5.1, the always stop at Sumner Avenue and 68th Street. Do we have any, could we get a summary for the report? Do we have that?
Yes, we do. Mr. Hemsley will be giving that PowerPoint presentation.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. This item before you is regarding a request that was made by the Public Safety Commission as well as City Council to investigate and review this intersection at Sumner and 68th. And a warrant analysis was made, and it was discovered that the intersection did meet the warrants to add an always stop at this location. What was looked at were crashes, the volumes that arrived to the intersection, sight distance issues, and left turn conflicts. In the last year, there were 7 crashes that occurred, 5 of which could be corrected with an always stop. You can see there's 4 lanes of traffic in the north-south, and then 2 lanes on 68th Street. The proposed recommended improvements to the intersection include adding stop signs, striping, refreshing the striping, approaching the intersection, including removing the left and right turn arrow on 68th Street to bring it closer to the stop sign and make it more visible, adding crosswalks, which will also help to highlight the new changes to the intersection and provide safety for pedestrians crossing the street. It also includes a ADA curb ramp on the west side of the street, for the north crosswalk there, provide access to the disabled in the community. There's also a requirement, part of the ADA Act, when improvements are done to intersections such as this. And once these improvements, which are going to be presented with your recommendation to City Council tomorrow night, once they're made, then we'll recommend installing new flags to highlight the stop signs. Many times when stop signs are installed, people that have gone through this intersection, it just becomes like a muscle pattern, and they don't realize that there's something new there, so that'll help with that. And also, we're asking the Riverside Sheriff's Office to provide a presence out there to make people a little more aware once these are installed for a couple weeks. And with that, that concludes my report. Be happy to respond to any questions you may have.
You said with flags?
Yes, the flags are mounted to the top of the stop sign at an angle.
Oh, actual flags. I thought it was like a word for something other than an actual flag. They're actual flags.
Like an ordinance construction.
Got it. All right, increasing visibility. Exactly. Well, I appreciate that. I had some concerns from the community. I brought it up in this commission. We haven't heard much feedback back, but to already have this completed in what I would consider a relatively short amount of time, I really appreciate that. And seeing the breakdown of the accidents, I appreciate that because I knew there were several. I didn't know how many. Seeing that our city is moving on it that quickly, I appreciate. I think this is going to really improve the safety for that intersection. It feels like an intersection where you would expect one if you're coming from the other direction. So I think this is a really good improvement recommendation, and I'm happy to see it coming together with the analysis done so quickly.
Thank you, Chairman.
I do have a question. I think it's about slide, I think it's the last slide on this one, where it shows the outlines of the sidewalks are in orange and red. That's just to highlight the crosswalks, right? That's not to, because it was brought up in a previous meeting about there being no.
That's for the next presentation? That's for the bridge?
Okay, this is under the striping section. Okay.
Hold that one.
I'll hold off on that one.
That's coming.
Got it.
So in regard to the accidents, how does that compare to statistically to other accidents in the city? Like, is 7 significantly higher than other intersections in the city?
Well, I don't know the exact answer to that question, but I will say that it is high. And there's a minimum number of accidents that are required to meet warrants, and this exceeds that. So it is, and some of the accidents that occurred there were for sight distance. Like they cited that there was a bus, they didn't see the car coming, and then when they pulled out, they saw it. So that's another reason that would warrant this being a good location for the stops.
It's just not any accidents, it's correctable accidents with the stop signs. And so do the stop signs help improve the reason why those collisions were happening?
I just know Sumner is already, has so many stoplights and stop signs. It takes forever just to get up, and adding something else just going to make that even longer, which safety is going to be the #1 concern. But I'm just wondering how that compares statistically to other intersections that are maybe having, the same issues or that could be correctable.
We don't have a lot of intersections that are like this intersection that don't already have a stop sign or a traffic signal at them. I mean, we do have some, but we don't have a lot. And so, that's.
Yeah, I know that I couldn't cite numbers, but I know this intersection has a lot of problems. And that's why I raised the concern a couple meetings ago. It's a lot. And if you look at the statistics on this one, 5 of the 7. Is that on the? Yeah, it's page 84. 5 of the 7 are broadsides, which are the deadliest, exactly. Thank you for the word I was looking for, the deadliest. So the ones that are most likely to cause the greatest amount of injury, and that's a big concern. So I think this is gonna help that,
Yeah,
slow down
Commissioner,
that speed.
if I can,
Yeah.
this intersection is we had the most accidents, that it's a non-controlled intersection of any place in the city.
Yeah.
So.
I appreciate that. But I'm excited about this. I was happy. I had a couple different residents who were been asking me about it. Hey, what's the update over the last couple of months? And I was very happy to be able to send them the feedback that we're getting this done. So I know that I've already gotten positive feedback from some community members that had been inquiring what the progress was. So I appreciate it.
I think even the 2 accidents that aren't necessarily correctable would be correctable, in my opinion, because what they are is someone pulls to a stop, there's a car behind them, and they start to leave, and then they realize that there's a car coming, and then they stop, and the person behind them rear ends them. So with a stop there, that I think it'll also control that, but it's not listed as on there.
Yeah, I know we're stop and go through the city. I know we are, but I'm very happy about this one. Do you have any other comments on this? Well, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate that. And so, thank you to everybody on the city side that put work into making this happen. So I appreciate that. But with that, I think a good time to decide whether we want to support this proposal to the council. And I know I'm supportive of it. I would like to have a motion. I'd like to start the motion to approve and recommend this improvement to council from the Safety Commission. If I can get a second.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Fitch,
Aye.
Commissioner Varela,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gracia,
Aye.
Chair Dinko.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, now we move on to 5.2, the safe route to school and pedestrian safety improvements on 68th Street from Wellspring Road to the I-15 bridge, excuse me.
Thank you. This item was also, came from the Public Safety Commission with a resident coming to the commission and asking about safety of her child walking to school. She lives in the neighborhood south of off of Wellsprings. Her child would walk north on Wellsprings and then head east on 68th Street over to the elementary school over there, Vandermyden. And as you can see on the slide here, the red there's not a sidewalk there, so she would end up walking in the roadway. She was uncomfortable crossing the street because it was so wide. And so she would want to cross in the narrower 2-lane section of 68th Street. And so in looking at this, staff recommended that the transition that is currently at the bridge, taking the 68th Street from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, could be moved over to Wellsprings Street, therefore making the crossing distance across live traffic shorter. And so then we would basically restripe 68th Street, add bike lanes, make the 4 lanes transition to 2 to 4 west of Wellspring Street to make that crossing safer for the children going to 68th Street, going to this elementary school. Yeah, sure.
So this is currently 4 lanes?
Yes.
West of?
West of the bridge, all the way to Hammer's 4, correct?
Okay. And then the proposal would be to bring that 4 down to 2, starting at Wellspring?
It would remain 2 from the bridge to Wellsprings, and then it would widen to 4 on the west side of Wellspring Street. Wellsprings is right on the edge over here.
4 over there, but,
yep.
But it would be 2 from the 15 to Wellspring.
Correct.
That way it's a shorter.
We just move that transition. right? So that when they cross on the east side of Wellspring Street, it would be a narrower crossing. They'd only be crossing through two live lanes of traffic.
The idea is they could cross here, 2 lanes, and then get over to.
Right. So it's more comfortable for them to cross the street there, 68th Street.
Because I remember it was kids were walking down here, and then they'd want to cross
Mm-hmm.
over the bridge. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is it the other way?
Well, I think, yeah.
No, he's correct.
He's correct.
He's correct. What the challenge is, the kids that are coming from the Eastville side of the 15, were walking along the south side, and there's no sidewalk across the bridge. And so we went out there to look to see could a sidewalk be accommodated on that bridge, and it can't be accommodated at this time.
Right.
And so the bridge is ultimately supposed to be a 4-lane bridge, and when the bridge is widened to 4 lanes someday in the future, it's not needed at this time. Then sidewalk would be added on the south side. But in the short term, what we can do is we can encourage the kids to cross right at Wellsprings. The challenge that was occurring out there is that was right where the transition was occurring. So people were taking off from the stop sign and gunning it through there and they were trying to merge with traffic.
Right.
Yeah, because there's too many.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And so just to get them, and so having school-age children cross 1 lane in each direction rather than 4 lanes, and there wasn't really any reason to have 4 lanes for 200 feet so that they could race to a bridge that's only 2 lanes.
Right.
And so moving the transition on the other side of Wellsprings would allow the kids to cross there at a safer design and not create so many conflicts right there.
Yeah, and then we wouldn't have like the racetrack to get into the pole position across the bridge.
Yes, who gets across the bridge first, and they play chicken almost.
It's a good idea. There's, just the other day I saw the car stopped, and then another car just doesn't even stop. He just blew right to the stop sign, and a kid was crossing the street in front of the first car in number 1 lane. So had he been maybe a foot further on the north side of the street, he would have been tagged by that car, because that car made 0 attempt to stop. So I think the 1 lane of traffic, having to cross each way, I think is perfect for, I mean, it's all we can do for now. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about you guys doing this so quickly, because I remember when she came in and brought this up, to our attention. So I think this is awesome.
It's really a testimony. We're trying to leverage while our slurry seal contractors out here, and while they can put new asphalt and paint or slurry seal down, then we can change the striping right on top of it. And so it's a good testament to our public works team to try to leverage what we're already doing in the city to reduce costs and do it in a good looking way. So if we're going to change the striping, or if we're going to slurry seal the roadway, let's just change the striping route while we're slurry sealing it.
Are there any other pieces aside from the restriping? Is there anything on the east side that is relative to this or no?
The east side of the is in the city of Jurupa Valley, so it's not in the city of Eastville. But they have sidewalk from the bridge all the way to the school.
Awesome. Any other comments? So could we get a motion and maybe a second to vote on to approve and recommend the proposal to?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Fitch?
Aye.
Commissioner Rella?
Aye.
Vice Chair Gracia?
Aye.
Chair Dinko?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right, we move on to item 5.2, Eleanor Roosevelt High School, neighborhood traffic concerns along Citrus Avenue, close to Estancia Community and Desi Lane.
All right, I'll take this one as well. This was presented to you the last commission meeting, and some residents from the Estancia neighborhood had come in support of making the temporary closure on Desi Lane more of a permanent but part-time type of closure, which basically was, the pilot study was done, and the closure was effective in reducing the traffic and the associated issues with traffic going through the Estancia community. Basically, what happens is during school, mainly the startup hours of the school, traffic comes down Sumner Avenue. Many of the vehicles are on Citrus, making a left turn into the high school parking lot. And when they see that's backed up, that left turn's backed up, they head into the community and make the in run around through the Desi Lane area. And so the complaints have been speeding, and we verified that. There's about an additional 100 vehicles in that short time frame in the morning, about an hour or maybe less than an hour during the school startup. There's noise issues, there's litter issues, there's kids that are crossing and not paying attention in the street, so it's definitely an issue out there. But the closure is not a viable option, and so we looked at some other alternatives that may help resolve the issue. This shows an aerial of the school area. May refer back to that. So we met with the school district, met on site. They saw the issues firsthand with staff, and we looked at what operations they had now for drop off, and we suggested that they open up the Orange Street fire lane for access for drop off. It's about 2,500 linear foot that could be added for drop off. Felt like that would work. However, it would require the state architect to approve a fire lane, and they'd have to widen that fire lane. It's 20 feet now. They have to make it 30 feet to work for this kind of thing, and they don't have the funds for this option. So we looked at another option with them, which was to allow double left turn lanes coming into the high school from Citrus Avenue. They felt like this, initially they thought it might work, but then they looked a little further into it and thought that there'd be issues with the double vehicles coming in and one crossing in front of the other, dropping off students in front of the other, and they felt like this would move the problem on site. So they weren't too excited about this option. And then we presented another option to them, which was to modify the traffic signal, which is what we're recommending to you, and are hoping that you would make this recommendation to City Council as well, and that is to modify the signal to either limit or restrict turning movements from the community into the high school to right or left only, or limit the timing so fewer vehicles are allowed to go through. Move the the crosswalk on the west side of the intersection, eliminate that so that we allow for less conflicts for vehicles coming out, making a right coming out of the parking lot, and then have the movement for the students that are approaching the school from the south just to use the crosswalk on the east side to make this a more efficient operation. And then so there would be a free right coming out while the left turn's coming in, which this would allow us to have more vehicles coming in that are currently coming in. What would happen is when this is operating normally, there would be 40 or 50 vehicles that could make that left turn, but when the short circuiting was occurring and vehicles were coming from the Estancia neighborhood, it would limit that because there was more calls coming from the south. So it would limit that to like 15 vehicles that would get through that during this movement.
Okay, before you go too far, I'm just trying to understand what you explained here.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying that if we're limiting the traffic through from Estancia, then more cars can make that left turn, which would be like turning from east to west into the parking lot. Is that what you were explaining?
Coming from the west to north into the parking lot.
So that would allow more to come in.
Yes,
that's what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you.
Maybe just
sure.
To clarify, there's an overall cycle length for a traffic signal, and the green time is divvied up over that cycle. So if it's 2 minutes long, if we're giving 20 seconds to northbound Estancia because 100 vehicles are trying to get across there because they're cutting through, then if we can give some of that 20 seconds back to the left turn movement, then we can keep them out of the neighborhood, if that makes sense.
Very much, thank
Okay.
you.
And then, so we could also, with the phasing change of the signal, there would be some modifications to the signal that would allow, so we'd have another left turn, so another phase would allow for more left turns during that phase, and then we'd have another phase for straight throughs in the east-west direction with a crosswalk as well. And then lastly would be, well, there'd be this movement going into the neighborhood, which is fairly limited, be a smaller phase. And lastly would be the coming out of the high school. So we believe that with this modification to the signal, it would discourage cars from making that in-run through the neighborhood because they would have to wait a long time to get through if we allow traffic through. If we restrict it, then it's still, we're not going to block it off. So there would still need to be some enforcement if vehicles did decide to go straight through, if we limit it to left and right only. But I think with a few citations, it would resolve that issue. So we believe that this.
How would we limit it if we were? Are we not considering that, or are we?
Yeah, we are considering that. That's an option we're considering. We either are considering making it a left and right turn only at this intersection for the northbound approach, or we would limit it with the timing of the signal. So we'd only allow for maybe 15 seconds on that one phase. So it would back up.
So it would just be a matter of restriping and then changing the phasing if we did the not allowing pass through.
Right, and there's some modifications we'd have to make to the signal to make that change. We'd also probably change out a couple of the heads to show the left and right arrow onlys as part of that.
Now, is that going to be just during school hours, or are those modifications going to be for the whole?
Actually, we could make it for just school hours, but even like if we were to restrict the movement to the north, let's see, yeah. With that movement, the school doesn't believe that there's hardly any traffic that goes into the school during non-school hours. So
I think that's
would
a
be a
viable
problem.
option.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Because I mean, if they're that close, their kids could walk.
Exactly.
I mean,
and there are many kids that walk from that neighborhood.
Yeah. And I also want to comment that I think that CNUSD's unwillingness to assist financially to solve this problem is very irresponsible. They put in the E-STEM, which we all think is beautiful, invest millions of dollars into that. They redid that whole parking area in the back, is a massive capital improvement project, and had no regard with how that would impact our local community and residents. And I'm very disappointed that they think widening that fire access road would be too cost prohibitive, considering how much money they poured into that. It's a big district, and they're bringing in transfers from all over CNUSD and outside CNUSD so that they can attend the E-STEM, and the unwillingness to help be a problem solver in this is disappointing. So I want that on record too. I'm not real pleased with that. But I do like the ideas, especially I'm in favor as well with the right and left restriction on northbound traffic from the estancias. Because I think once students realize there's no opportunity to cut through, I think that slowly they're going to stop trying. And I think that would be a greater impact than even limiting it. Because if you limit it, it's just going to slow it down and back it up more. They're still going to try because they know eventually they can get through. And then it'll just be backed up further. But if after a few runs they realize they can't pass through, then hopefully that attempt for the shortcut, it'll start subsiding. That's my belief.
Thank you. I just would like to mention too, when they did widen, or they did their E-STEM project, they did expand their parking lot, and that will help the situation well, because there was parking issues in the neighborhood. So when I was there visiting, there was still probably about 30% of the parking space that was open. So there shouldn't be kids parking in this neighborhood and then walking across anymore because of that project.
I also just Chairman, I just also wanted to share, in speaking with the superintendent, Dr. Lynn, the perception of the amount of transfers coming into Eleanor Roosevelt High School is actually a very small percentage. It's like in the single digits, if not. So the number of students at Eleanor Roosevelt that are transferring from outside the city of Eastville is relatively small. It used to be a lot bigger, but the campus has shut down significantly the transfers that are coming from outside the district or outside the city.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the Orange Street entrance, is that because there couldn't be traffic going both directions? Because I remember in the past that used to be an option to go one way through there.
According to the district director for the facilities director, that is a fire lane. It's 20 foot wide, so you cannot have that as a designated entrance. It's supposed to be limited just for fire access during emergencies. And I know they do use it that way now. They do use it for in and out traffic. What happens now is they come in, they go just past the baseball field there, and then they head east. They go into the parking lot there, they drop off, they have to cone that off, and then they head back out. That's the current operation that they use.
During the mornings, they're opening it up?
During the mornings. I'm not sure, I wasn't there during the afternoons, but I did witness that during the mornings, yes.
Oh, really? So it was my understanding that it was completely blocked off for access during drop-offs. That's not correct?
No, but not, at least last time I was out there about a month ago, they were using that for that.
Because usually I see it locked, so maybe I'm going at the wrong time.
It normally is locked, but during the school drop-off time, they do open it up.
Okay, then I misunderstood.
Okay.
They just close it off for baseball coaches.
Yeah, so would our recommendation, do we have two options to the recommendation? Is that what we're looking at?
Chair, we actually do have a public comment card for this one.
All right. Well, now's a great time.
We have Felicia Chen.
Good evening. My name is Felicia Chen. I'm the branch manager at Eastville Public Library. So we are actually located on top of Eleanor Roosevelt High School during our their after hours after 3. So my main concern is when this is approved, are the parking lots as well as the streets around it going to be affected? If so, is this going to be affected after hours?
Well, based on what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, whatever changes were made with regard to the striping would be permanent striping, but some of the phasing of the lights could be incremental according to high traffic times. The two proposals we have here look like one to modify the lights phasing, which probably really wouldn't affect you.
Right.
But possibly the through traffic on coming from Estancia, I think. Is that right? Is that the
That's all. That's all that would be impacted.
Yeah.
At this point.
And really, the library is located to the front.
Yeah.
Access anyhow.
And the parking lot would be open.
Right. However, the high school, it's shared space with the parking lot, so I have found it really difficult on times. My staff members have come to me with concerns, especially on Saturdays when the high school is closed down, but they still do host weekend events over there. We have had it to the point where we had lack of parking. We couldn't even find parking anywhere up front as well as the back area. So if it affects the back parking lot area, that would also affect us as well as our patrons. And I'd like to maybe see if there's any way the public could be notified on when that would take into effect so we can warn our patrons as well.
We'd be happy to let you know when we implement it, so that you can. But the only patrons that would be impacted by this would be the few homes that are in the Estancia HOA to the south. everybody else would have full access to the parking lot in the back. And the people in Estancia to the south could go out through the Sumner traffic signal and still have access to the parking lot. They just wouldn't be able to cross from Estancia into the parking lot, to the back parking lot of the high school.
So all the parking lots would still be open?
This wouldn't impact whether the parking lots were open or closed, and everybody else would have full access through this traffic signal.
Okay, so in Citrus, Scholar Way, as well as that back road Sumner, it wouldn't be closed down in any way?
That's correct. This is just the traffic signal not allowing you to go from the subdivision to the south to the north.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it shouldn't impact library
The
operations.
main issue was just the people coming northbound from Estancia, just south of Citrus there, crossing into the high school from the south end. So this is just more of a flow issue, not so much a parking issue.
Okay.
So all the parking lots will have access. It's just that particular area was a problem that the residents were complaining about because the cars were backing up further south.
And this is only during high school hours?
Right.
It might be full operational, but if you can go back to
This one?
no, all the way back to the figure that shows the cut through.
Cut through, okay.
So this is the grand scheme of it, and I'll come right up here to share you. What was happening is in the morning, people were coming down Sumner and going around here, and they were racing through this neighborhood and coming up and then going through the high school. And it was on the order of 100 to 150 cars in about a 20-minute period. And then they were parking in this subdivision because they didn't want to park in that parking lot. And so what we're doing is we're not allowing them to go from this subdivision across into that parking lot. But all this subdivision can go out over to Sumner if it so desires and still have access to make what would be an eastbound to north left turn.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
And this is so that this neighborhood isn't impacted by the high school traffic that is backed up because of that eastbound left. And when they come down Sumner, they look to the left, and if it's backed up, they just cut through the neighborhood and come through. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, if it's an issue she has with parking, because I believe that was one of your concerns, would that be through the school district then, that she would bring?
What happens is the school hosts a lot of events there, and they have a lot of sporting events, and they have a lot of music events and theater, and so there are a lot of things that happen at the high school during school hours as well as outside school hours, and so if she just works with the school district to identify how they can.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, the library, we take a back burner to whatever events that the high school hosts. We're usually taking the grunt end of whatever it is. Most times I've had my staff members come in and saying, hey, we were 10 minutes late coming in because we couldn't find parking. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But I was just more concerned because on that end. But if it's not going to affect our hours, that should be fine.
It won't affect your hours.
Thank you for taking the time to come out.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And just so you know, we just released an RFQ to do the Civic Center design for the City Hall and Library. So that is out circulating right now. So and we'll go through a process to hire a consultant to help us design that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That way you can have a bigger library eventually someday.
No guarantee on parking issues though.
But since we're the landlord, we won't guarantee parking.
So for the commissioners, we have two different possible recommendations, as I understand it. That's what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, there's two actions. One is to modify the signal. The other one is to move the crosswalk, which requires a notice, which we would do after approval from council.
Move the crosswalk?
There isn't a crosswalk there.
Yeah. To show you here. So there's a this image has been modified.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's a crosswalk on the west side of the intersection that we would that we would remove and only have one on the east side.
It's not shown in this aerial. This aerial is older.
Right, so the only one that would remain would be the one with the green little dots
Yes.
side.
Actually, this area was modified by staff.
Oh.
To take out that cost.
Oh, to take it out.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's pretty good, I can't
I
tell.
know, it's hard to know.
Oh, I can see the Photoshop.
Oh, yeah, now I do.
So you can see the new parking lot, that's why.
So the first one is to remove the crosswalk, is that right?
Yeah, the first one is to modify the signal, and the second one is to move the pedestrian crosswalk.
And they both have to be done in conjunction, because you can't have the overlapping phase with the crosswalk there.
Oh.
Right.
So these are, so they're supposed to work together?
Yes.
Okay. Is there one that covers the dual exits without a pass-through, or is that just, we'll see and see how it goes kind of thing?
We're
not gonna talk about
The
it.
striping doesn't need to be approved. It's just the traffic signal and the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the phasing and the passing through and Brian is saying that we don't necessarily, that's not a part of this recommendation.
That's correct, yeah.
What's part of this recommendation?
We can do that without permission. We just, to remove a crosswalk, we need to have a public process to remove a crosswalk.
That explains it.
And then we'll post it for 30 days so that everybody knows that it's going to be removed.
Awesome. Okay, so we have two recommendations here for the Public Safety Commission to consider for a recommendation of the council. The first one, as stated, removes the crosswalk on the west side of that intersection. Did I say that right? And the second one is for the phasing, to change the phasing to make it favor a northbound turn from a westbound direction on Citrus. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do we have any motions to accept and recommend?
I'll motion and recommend both course of action.
I'll second it for both.
Commissioner Fitch?
Aye.
Commissioner Barella?
Aye, but can I add something? I just want to make sure that the times for that are only during school hours. That's my recommendation.
I don't know if we can limit the northbound.
I thought he said that.
I don't know if we can limit it and have the proper signage out there to limit the northbound.
Oh, for the stoplights?
For the Estancia crossing.
Okay, is this just for the stoplights and
This
the
is what
crosswalk?
we're recommending here, or just for the crosswalk and for the for changing. This is, and the second one is changing the phasing. Is that
If we can, we can try to limit the northbound through just during school hours.
For the signal?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
We just need to figure out if we can. I don't
Okay.
know if we can legally and uphold it.
and that might be hard because then it's going to be striped for a pass through,
Right.
and then it will not
well, I thought the
exist.
signal
Yeah, I thought your
limiting.
concern, I'm sorry, I thought your concern was with the timing, that you.
Yeah, that's
Because
what
we were
my
gonna shorten the
concern was.
timing during school hours,
Yeah.
and not during school hours would be a different time.
Exactly.
But but that recommendation could be for the northbound turn from Citrus, right? From Citrus.
Yes, is that what this vote's for?
Well,
correct?
it could be. The vote is for to
Okay.
have it, and then your interest is that it would be limited to school hours.
Yes, if they're limiting and increasing the time and limiting the time. So
I see.
that,
So maybe we can have, we can approve and recommend and just include that in the notes
Yeah.
for the meeting, that you're interested in that piece.
If we can achieve that, we'll try.
okay,
The challenge is that the high school has major events as well, and so, we don't want the neighborhood also being impacted by Saturday baseball or something like that, where they're also cutting through the neighborhood because of the traffic signal operations. So we just need to or football games or stuff like that.
Okay. So we're still rolling, right? We can keep going. I know. Everybody, that's the one thing everybody shows up for in the city is traffic. So where are we at on our votes? We're still good with the motion?
You're okay with, okay. Vice Chair Gracia?
Aye.
Chair Dinko?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
So we're gonna implement it, and we'll continue to evaluate it during peak hours of school drop off and pickup, as well as outside. And if the changes impact something, we will make modifications to it. So we will continue to evaluate it. If it, Commissioner, we'll continue to evaluate it once we implement it, and if we see major impacts outside, but the traffic on Citrus is pretty minimal outside of anything created from the school. So once school's in there, you can lay down on that roadway pretty much without cars on it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. We're at our public comments portion of our meeting. Any member of the public may address the commission on items within the commission's subject matter jurisdiction, but which are not listed on the agenda during public comments. However, no action may be taken on matters that are not part of the posted agenda. We request comments made on the agenda be made at the time the item is considered, and that comments be limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any requests tonight?
No, sir, we don't.
City staff report. Ryan, do you have one?
I don't know that I have one written out for tonight, but we do have a neighborhood watch celebration on October 4th, Friday, October 4th. So the neighborhood watch program will be at Harada at like 6 p.m. that night. And then the next day is the fall festival at Harada Park. That will happen to be the Eastville's 9th birthday as well. So we'll have some kind of celebration for that as well. So just wanted to put that on the radar.
Yeah, fall festival's been getting a little bit bigger over the last couple of years. Last year they had JCSD brought out a band and some nice food. That was very nice.
And the bounce houses and the
bounce houses,
pumpkins,
and giveaway and pumpkins. It's a nice little community event.
The draft horse rides. I even got to run the draft horses last.
I don't remember that. Where were they?
They're over in the back by the baseball diamond. You could ride the draft horses in the wagon, but I got to ride.
Did
the
they
front
do
seat.
anything to the diamond?
Just messed up home plate a little bit. They stayed off the diamond
I
area.
remember that.
It was out in the right field.
Yeah, I know they did. It's a nice.
They put a little fertilizer on it.
Yeah, it's a nice event, and the music was great last year. I know I had somebody in the lineup, and it always keeps people there when you got food and music. So, it was like that. I don't know if Bono was going to make it, but it was good. And for the commissioners, do we have any commission communications? Anything?
If I can just speak to Tim and Brian after the meeting, just for a quick minute.
The possible future joint neighborhood watch commission meeting for next quarter, right? The captain's meeting, if we explore that, because I think it was yesterday they had one, right?
Yeah, we've reached out to the neighborhood watch program, and I think what the leaders of the neighborhood watch program would like to speak with you about that concept. And so Brandon, Todd, and Don will reach out to you and talk.
Sounds good. Thank you.
And do we have any other future agenda items we want to put on now? Commissioners?
Next meeting, what I would like to see happen, if everyone supports this, is for each of us and anybody else from our public safety partners or the city staff to bring in a idea for a public safety related briefing. So it could be something like maybe our CERT capabilities or, mass casualty incident response, something related that is of interest to this commission to give recommendations on, look for any maybe support we can provide as far as resources or possible funding recommendations to go over to the city council. And then we can make a list for the next, 6 months, depending on other agenda items that the city has. And then, kind of plan out the next, our topics will be briefed on that are of interest, if that makes sense.
So some of that stuff can be briefed in the public and some of that stuff can't be briefed in the public. And so some of that stuff is not disclosed on what our actions are. So we're going to have to be kind of careful with that because we don't make all that stuff public.
Yeah, we can make a list of stuff we're interested in, and then we can filter it out.
And then the other component is we just need to allocate resources to this stuff. And so some of this might need to be a recommendation from the Public Safety Commission to City Council to prioritize staff time because they have a strategic plan. And if this isn't in the strategic plan, then we need to just make sure we have the right staffing resources to bring these items to the Public Safety Commission. But we can cross that road once we identify what we're doing.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, we'll just make a list and we'll toss the ones out we can't do.
Yeah.
So, next month, if everyone could bring some kind of topic like to either be briefed on, provide a briefing on, like the fire or sheriff's department wants to bring some to our attention that maybe they could, use additional support from us on, that'd be great.
All right, our next meeting for the Public Safety Commission is scheduled for Tuesday, October 22nd at 6 p.m. Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.